Unless you've been living under a rock for the past year, you know who Ghislaine Maxwell is and what it is that she's currently being charged with. You likely know that she is the number one co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein and helped him to traffic young girls out to all of his friends and those in his social network around the world. And if you watched my recent video on Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Express, you also know that after Epstein, she was the most frequent flyer on his private jet that was used to move underage girls around the planet to be victimized. While she was apprehended by law enforcement on July 2nd, 2020 in New Hampshire, the drama surrounding her case has continued to grow, even as she's being detained in a jail cell in New York. The most recent issues around her centered on a deposition she gave back in 2016 for a civil case with Virginia Giuffre. She gave that deposition because she had an agreement that her deposition would never be released or seen outside of that particular case. Now, as she faces sex trafficking charges in a criminal court, the prosecutors want to access that deposition. Ghislaine's attorneys argue that her chance of a fair trial on criminal charges could be destroyed by substantial negative publicity if a deposition she gave 4 years ago were publicly released. And while they don't say exactly what's so incriminating in the deposition, the attorneys continued by saying this: if the unsealing order goes into effect, it will forever let the cat out of the bag. And the attorneys warned that intimate, sensitive, and personal information about Maxwell might spread like wildfire across the internet. The attorneys went as far as suggesting that unsealing the deposition and other documents would cause irreversible and unconstitutional negative publicity and undermine the truth-seeking function of her trial by leading the witnesses to recast their memories of events from decades ago. In spite of her attorney's appeal to protect their supposed truth-seeking process, some documents from the civil case were released last month. Immediately, Maxwell's lawyers asked the appeals court for permission to seal more than 1,000 pages of additional materials, which included her deposition. Earlier this month, her lawyers said they received critical new information from the criminal case that would aid in blocking the release of the deposition. Of course, we don't know yet what the information is, but according to the Miami Herald, prosecutors argued back saying the release of the information Maxwell wants to put forth could harm their ongoing investigation. And they believe it would be grossly inappropriate for defense counsel to be permitted to sift through the criminal case discovery and cherry-pick materials they may believe could provide some advantage in their effort to defend against accusations of abuse by victim plaintiffs, delay court-ordered disclosure of previously sealed materials, or any other legal effort the defendant may be undertaking at any particular time. Beyond this back and forth between Maxwell's attorneys and prosecutors about what information and evidence the public gets access to, there's the latest development in Ghislaine's case, and it is that on Friday, federal prosecutors suggested a federal grand jury investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and others accused in sexual abuse of underage girls remains active. So this indicates that there may be even more criminal charges that Ghislaine could be charged with. And she's already facing 30 years for current charges that she won't start trial on until 2021 in July. But with more charges, she might end up spending the rest of her life in prison. And spending time locked up is different for Ghislaine than it is for anyone else, because since Epstein committed suicide when he was locked up in jail a year ago, correction officials have been monitoring Ghislaine like crazy. She filed a complaint about this a few weeks ago when she said she wanted to be put in general population instead of being isolated. She was denied this request, and apparently, even in isolation, it has been confirmed that her guards have been changed out, and in some cases, had psychologists switched in to watch her and evaluate her up close. Now, this scrutiny is no doubt to ensure that Ghislaine is safe, and many have questioned whether Epstein actually killed himself. Ghislaine Maxwell's story is far from over, and new details continue to come to light. So make sure, if you are not already, follow us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube at Human Trafficking Hater for future updates. Thanks for watching.